Good morning, and happy Saturday to everybody. First off, I truly appreciate everybody being here this morning. And I want to congratulate you for taking some time to work on yourself. Something we talk about is the self-improvement movement. And I commend each and every one of you taking some time out of your day to be here today. I know we're all pulled in a lot of directions. And I think it's the difference of a mindset, of a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. And this morning we have 9 different speakers. We have people from all different walks of life: college basketball coach, actor, speakers, coaches, trainers, and podcasters. And these are all people that have significantly added value to my life. And we hope that they're going to add value to you today. We really appreciate you being here today for our We Rise by Lifting Others Up forum. Before we jump into today's session, I want to spend 2 seconds to say a very special thank you to Sarut and Tom, SNS Media Co. and Talix Media, the 2 guys that do everything behind the scenes. If it wasn't for them, none of this would be happening. Since March, we've been dealing with this coronavirus, and we've been dealing with social distancing, and I know we've been challenged in a lot of ways. And a good friend of mine, Natalia, said something the other day that really stood out. She said that right now we might be traveling in different boats, but we're all traveling down the same water, and we're dealing with the same waves. So think about that for a second. And it reminds me of a hashtag I've seen recently is #AloneTogether. The reality is right now, because we are being socially distanced, both personally and professionally, we are alone in some ways. But the reality is we are together. Individually, we are strong, but together we're unstoppable. I truly believe that today's speakers are going to motivate you, inspire you, and make you think a little bit differently about the way in which you can maintain yourself during these challenging times. I hope you take notes. I hope you write things down. But most importantly, when you are done today, when you are finished with this webinar, I hope you take action. Before we jump in, I want to share a quote by Mark Twain. The secret to getting ahead is getting started. Our first speaker today is not only one of my accountability partners, but he's a very dear friend of mine. Chris and I actually met last year when he began listening to my podcast. And he reached out to me, and I'm extremely grateful that he did, because if he didn't, he and I wouldn't be friends today. There are many people that I follow on social media, and Chris is one of them. Every single day he posts inspiring, lifting, and motivational things. And he does it for one specific reason. It's to lift others up. It is my pleasure to introduce my dear friend, Chris Wilberding.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Chris, thanks for that wonderful introduction. I truly appreciate it. I also appreciate the opportunity to be a part of the We Rise by Lifting Others Up forum. What a wonderful event that you've put together here. And I can't wait to learn from others that are participating in this as well. And welcome to those of you that are participating and listening in and learning. It's great to be a part of this. And hopefully you take something away from one of the 9 presenters today that you can put into your life and make things better during this difficult time. The concept of We Rise by Lifting Others Up is one that I firmly believe in. The concept of paying it forward. The idea that we can help others at the same time getting positivity back, right? We do these things with no expectations, but in the end, it makes us feel good when others come to us and say thank you. These unprecedented times that we live in are something that no one was prepared for. Since March 13th, when all this came to be, it's been a very long run, just shy of 2 months. But there are 2 choices we have. And the choices are this. We can make the best of it, or we can focus on the negative side. I choose to focus on what we can do and what we can improve upon, and the things that can positively impact others. What I will share with you is that while I've been out exercising, while I've been paying more attention to myself, my days are as busy as ever, and for that I'm extremely grateful. My 8:30 to 5:30 has changed very little, but my evenings are completely different. They've slowed down, they've given us quality time with families, but it's been an adjustment. So I've been giving some great thought to how I can succinctly share with others in 4 steps what I've been able to do to make this a positive time. These 4 keys have helped me with some personal clarity during this COVID situation. So let's talk about those briefly. The first is each day, each moment, you need to take a deep breath, center yourself, understand, appreciate every moment, reflect on the good in your life, but take that deep breath and realize that this too shall pass. The second piece is embrace the pace. For some of us, it's extremely busy and hectic. For others, it's slowed down. Take advantage of either side. Be grateful for life speeding up. Be grateful for it slowing down. For those of you that are extremely busy, take a deep breath during this process, because here's what's going to happen. Busyness is sometimes called the enemy, right? Take that deep breath, focus on what you can. Be positive for those things. Author Matthew Kelly actually states that busyness is the enemy. And during these times, let's focus on the pace, what we need to do, what we get to do. But let's make sure that we adjust our life to the pace that we've been given. The third component to the 4 keys to personal clarity is focus on when, what's important now. What can you do each moment, each step of the way, each day that's going to help you on the other side? That can be simply taking care of your kids, making sure you're focused in a meeting. It can be taking better care of your health, being there for others, helping your neighbors, building a sense of community. But when? What's important now? The fourth piece is this: be positive. What other choice do you have? Nobody wakes up and really wants to have a bad day. So wake up every morning with the understanding that you get to do what lies ahead of you. You get to do these things, not you have to do them. Think of it from an abundance mindset, going back to being grateful. Think of all the things that you have versus the things you don't. Those 4 pieces: take a deep breath, embrace the pace, focus on what's important now, and be positive, have been helpful for me during this COVID situation. And I hope they can be helpful for you as well. Again, Chris, thank you very much for allowing me to be a part of this wonderful event. We do truly rise by lifting others up. I'm going to turn it back over to you. Everybody have a great day. Push forward, be positive, and I look forward to connecting with some of you real soon.
Thanks, Chris. I think you're very powerful and a great way to start today's forum. And during these challenging times, Chris mentioned that we really only do have 2 choices. We can make the most out of the current situation, or we can focus on the negatives. So the question for you, very simple, is what are you focusing on during these challenging times? Are you focusing on the negatives and all the things that you don't like, all the challenges, or perhaps are you putting your attention towards making the most out of your day? Chris shared 4 things that I've heard him share before, but I think they're so important, especially during today's challenging times. Number 1, take a deep breath. Number 2, embrace the pace. 3, focus on when, what's important now. And number 4, and I think the most important is be positive. I absolutely love the simplicity of Chris's 4 messages, but I think they're things that we can apply into our day-to-day. So I challenge you, think about what Chris just shared with us, those 4 things, and maybe add 1 or 2 of them into your life this morning. And he also shared something that was really interesting, but I think it's something that's really key, is focusing on what we get to do as opposed to what we have to do. Because the reality is there are so many people that would love to be doing what a lot of us are doing. They would love to be in the situations that we're in, family, friends. So focus on what we get to do as opposed to what we have to do. And think about that abundance mindset, going back to gratitude, both expressing it to yourself, but also to others. Chris's 4th point that is shared, I think, is the most important, being positive. But it's definitely easier said than done, especially during these challenging times. And one suggestion we talk about is by sharing positivity, by focusing our attention on positivity, in many ways, we're muting negativity. So I challenge you today to mute negativity by sharing positivity. Our next speaker today, I had the opportunity of meeting just 5 weeks ago, and quickly we become very good friends. At the young age of 25, he is very impressive as he is very focused on not only developing himself, but also coaching and leading other people. He's a host of a podcast, and he does a fantastic job. Right now, actually, he is in his car driving from Wisconsin to his new job and his new life in Arizona. And I'm really glad that he was able to send a video in with us today. So I'd like to introduce Joe Corcione.
What's up, everybody? My name is Joe Corcione, and I'm the host of the Art of Fulfillment podcast and a self-improvement coach. And I'm so excited to be with you here today. And I want to say you are amazing for taking the steps in your life to not only improve yourself, but improve the lives of others, because that's why we're all here today. So before I give you some tips and tricks and everything like that, I want to give you a 1-minute background on my story. So I started from a place where I was very depressed, very anxious, and did not like who I was. And a lot of that stemmed from a vicious drug addiction to Adderall, which I was battling for 10 plus years. And on top of that, I was drinking a lot, doing a bunch of other hard drugs, making really poor decisions in life, and ruining my relationships. Just was not in a good situation. And all it took for me was to just change my mindset, change my attitude, change my beliefs about myself, the world, and others, to get to a place where I not only became sober, and I have been sober for about 1.5 years from Adderall, but I was also able to give back to others through starting my own podcast all about fulfillment, through coaching others through their own struggles, mental barriers, excuses, and habits, and ultimately spreading this message that change is possible on social media platforms and around the world. Now, how did I make that change? Because I don't want to sit here and tell you my whole story. I want to give you something that you can take in your life and help yourself out whatever difficulty that you are going through in life. So the 4 key things that helped change my life, and I'll go through them one by one, is first and foremost, I take radical personal responsibility for my life. And I know this one sounds harsh, but you got to go with the mentality that everything in your life that is happening to you right now is your responsibility. It's not about what is happening to you, it's about what are you going to do with it, right? For example, if you get into a car accident where someone T-bones you, it's not your fault essentially that person hit you, but now your totaled car and maybe some injuries that you have is your responsibility. What are you going to do in that moment? And when you take that mindset, you get into a place of control instead of a victim mentality. Because if you are just blaming external circumstances and saying, oh man, woe is me, life is just totally just falling down on me for no reason, you get into a victim mindset and you get into a place of learned helplessness. But if you take personal responsibility, then you are able to give yourself the personal power and the control to take action, to ultimately go through and push through any challenge that you want in life. So that's number 1, take personal responsibility. Number 2, do hard things. In life nowadays, we are so living in an area that is all about comfort. It's all about climate control. It's all about having food whenever we want. It's all about doing the easy things and making things the most convenient way possible. But I'm telling you right now, life is not like that. Life is actually hard. We all know that there's challenges in life that are so unexpected and come out of nowhere, just like this coronavirus situation. And it takes us to be as resilient as possible to not only get through those challenges, but to make it out better than we were before. And the best way to do that is do hard things. It's something that I call purposeful suffering. And what that means is you're doing hard things in order to callous your mind so that you can weather the storms in your life whenever they come through. So for example, do a workout every single morning, even when you don't feel like it. Take a cold shower every single day. Follow a strict diet. Do things that are really tough for you. Maybe meditating for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever that is, make sure it's something difficult. Because the more you do difficult things, the more your frame of reference changes. Think about if you woke up in the morning and did 300 burpees, and then someone says something to you throughout the day that, ticks you off, or is in the past, it would dwell on you all day. But if you did 300 burpees that morning, all you're thinking is, well, I did 300 burpees this morning. This guy said something that bad to me. That's not even that difficult. I did the difficult thing this morning, which is 300 burpees, so that's not that bad. You train your mind to be resilient in situations by putting yourself through pressure. Number 3, change your perception. Perception is everything. Reality is only a matter of how you see it. Think about 2 people who are going onto a plane. One person's scared of flying, one person is like a routine flyer and thinks it's safe. If they're both on the plane and turbulence happens, this person's gonna freak out, the one who's scared, and this person's gonna see it as a non-event. Same exact event in life, different perceptions, both lead to different reactions in how they deal with it. So that's an example to say that life is only a matter of your perceptions. Are you seeing this world as a friendly place or a hostile place, right? How you see the world is going to determine how you act, how you treat other people, what you do to yourself, how you see every single challenge that comes your way. It all is a matter of changing your perception. And one of the best ways to do that is in the morning, I want you to write down all the things you're grateful for, all the things that are amazing in life, empowering beliefs such as I can learn anything that I set my mind to. I can change anything that I want to in my life. I can learn any skill that I want. I am capable. I am confident. I am loved. Anything that's going to fire you up. But just make sure it's something that resonates with you and something that brings you closer to who you want to be in life. And number 4, build an identity for yourself of the person who you want to be and live in that way every single day, even when it's difficult. And what I mean by that is I want you to take a second, sit down and write down who the best version of yourself is. Is it someone who's confident, someone who does the hard things, someone who improves himself every day, someone who takes the time to learn, get better, takes feedback as a method of getting better as opposed to one that damages their ego? Write that all down. Many people do not have a manifesto of what the person they want to be really is, and I think that really deters a lot of people from the path that they want to go in life. So if you take the time, ask yourself, what is the best version of myself and what do I have to do to be that person? And then I want you to look at that every single day and act in accordance with it, because let me tell you this, the one thing that humans will do anything to maintain is maintaining their identity and how they see themselves. So if you see yourself as your highest version of yourself and you truly say to yourself, this is who I am, you're going to do whatever it takes to be in alignment with that. All right, everyone, I gave you 4 big tips there in just a short amount of time that I can guarantee you if you implemented this on a daily basis, you are going to change your life, because it changed my life. And I have never gone back since. All right, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. And remember, create a fulfilling life for yourself. Take care.
Joe, thank you for sharing that story. I appreciate your vulnerability with your addiction to Adderall. But I think the thing that stood out to me is what you're doing after it. And you touched upon 4 key things. Number 1, taking personal responsibility. I think it's something that, as you said, living in this comfort world, it's something that we all can do and should do. Number 2 is doing the hard things. You know, going back to that comfort zone, it's easy to do the things that we know how to do, that we're comfortable doing, but it's not easy to do the difficult things. And 3, changing your perception. And 4, I think is really interesting. It's creating and truly envisioning the best life for yourself. So the question I have for you is, how do you envision your life? Joe also touched on expressing gratitude every single day. And I think it's really important. And I know so many people that do it not only first thing in the morning, but the last thing at night. And I think even though we're dealing with very challenging times right now and things aren't the way we'd like them to be, both personally and professionally, we all still have a lot that we should be expressing gratitude for. In his parting words, Joe said something about creating a fulfilling life. My follow-up question to each of us is, how are you creating your life? Are you fulfilling your life? Are you living fulfilled? On my podcast, a question I ask each guest is, how do you define success, or what does success mean to you? And so many people have used the word fulfillment in their definition. And after that, I think the 3rd or 4th guest in a row that said fulfillment within their definition, I went ahead and I grabbed the dictionary. And Webster's dictionary defines it as the achievement of something desired, promised or predicted, satisfaction or happiness as a result of fully developing one's abilities. And I think that really hits home, especially during the social distancing time. So I challenge you to take a look at what you're doing and your abilities. Are you fulfilling them, and are you really giving your best effort? I think the reality is things have slowed down a little bit. In no way, shape, or form am I going to say that we all have hours upon hours of free time. But I think the reality is things have slowed down a little bit for everybody, and we all have a little bit more free time. So I challenge you to think about how you're using some of that free time. A client of mine has always spoken about wanting to play the guitar and wanting to take lessons and learn how to play guitar. But he has always had excuses or been, quote unquote, too busy. A couple weeks ago, he actually decided to go ahead and start taking lessons. Fender is offering free online guitar lessons, and he's about 2 or 3 weeks into it. So I challenge you, what are those things that maybe you could do? Have you thought about reading a book, maybe watching a series, possibly maybe starting a podcast, or maybe launching a website or a YouTube channel. Think about what are those things that you want to do and how maybe can you maximize these challenging times and take advantage of it. There may never be a better time than right now with this slowed down sense that we're living with. And again, it's not just personally, it's also professionally as well. You may recognize our next speaker from The Sopranos, Scandal, or possibly his most recent show with Kevin Bacon, City on the Hill. I met Matt through the speaker and author, John Gordon, and we connected immediately. Ironically, we found out that we actually grew up one town away and that our fathers actually went to high school together. I can actually now say that I'm not 6 degrees separated from Kevin Bacon. I'm actually only one person separated from Kevin. A little bit over a month ago, I had the opportunity of having Matt on my podcast, and I'm extremely fortunate that he's taken time out of his schedule to join us today. So I'd like to introduce my friend, Matthew Del Negro.
Chris, what's up, man? Thank you for having me. First, I guess I want to say I just think this is awesome. We rise by lifting others up. I couldn't agree more. If you just think about how you and I met, we met through a guy named John Gordon. I met him on my podcast. He was kind enough to have me do something that you saw. You reached out to me. We got together. I did your podcast. And that all came through the bad times that we're in right now. And I've seen so much of that personally. I've met so many people. I'm looking at the other people you have on this panel, and I'm blown away that I'm counted among them. And it's such a great concept because encouragement goes so far. And I interviewed someone yesterday. She's, someone that Oprah talks about and Oprah loves, and this woman, Marie Forleo. And we were talking about how, if both of us had a lot of examples of people that are now working on our team that originally were just listeners or were, consuming our content, and they bought into what we were saying. And the gist of the content in her case and in mine is really to help people, to encourage them, to make them feel less alone. And this idea of we rise, everybody rises, and everybody lifts each other up is really, it's true, because the people that we reach out and we try to serve, if we really do serve them with great intentions and we really want to help them, like not to profit, you can profit. There's nothing wrong with that. That's actually good because it makes you sustainable. But if you reach out and the prime reason is to actually help them as a human, what I've found, and I think you would say the same thing, is it ends up helping you as much or more than it helped them. And, I have a case right now, and I've been bringing it up a lot lately because it's kind of fresh in my mind, but I have a new producer who's incredible, and she was a listener. She was a listener from around the world in a tiny town in Australia, and now she moved. She lives in Vancouver now, but now she is a huge part of my team. And so it's not that I lifted her up. I lifted her up, now she's lifting me up. And that's the way it works. It's kind of just putting out, good karma, good vibes into the world. So I really think it's incredible that you're doing this. I'm so happy to be a part of it. And I never know, how much you want to hear. I could go on for days about this, but that's what I would say, is just if you have that chance to encourage someone and you have that chance to lift them up, it's people think of it as selfless, but it's selfish in the best way possible. So thank you so much. And back to you.
Thank you, Matt. I think it's ironic that you also mentioned that we met through John Gordon. And I know for a fact that John has had such a positive impact on so many people's lives, not only with his speaking, but with his books, but also the way in which he leads his life. And I absolutely love how you used the word encourage. There are so many words that people use to motivate people. Positivity, improvement, elevate. But I love that word because it means to give support, confidence, or hope to someone. And I think if we take a look at the word hope, I think that is something that we need more today than ever. During these challenging times, I think we all need to express and show hope not only to ourselves, but to others. The hope that we will get through this. The hope that we are going to be safe and healthy. The hope that our friends, our loved ones are going to be safe and healthy. The hope that things are going to get back to normal. The hope not only for ourselves, but others. And I believe that the words hope and encourage go together hand in hand. Matt spoke about why it is so important to encourage others, because not only does it help them, but it also comes back to you. It's almost the idea of karma. And maybe it doesn't come back directly to you. Maybe it comes back to a family, a friend, or a loved one. But the reality is when you give hope to other people and you encourage them, typically it comes back to you. So I'd like to pose a question to you, everyone that's watching right now. Take a moment to think about who you can encourage today. Maybe grab a pen and write down a name or two. And when we're done today with this webinar, I challenge you to pick up your phone and reach out to those people that you just wrote down. Encourage somebody 100% for them with zero expectations in return. But remember what Matt shared is when you encourage somebody, when you spread hope, not only do you help them, but it comes back to you tenfold. Our next speaker, I'm really glad to say that I had the opportunity of meeting him almost 2 years ago. And I've had the honor of being on his podcast, and he's been on mine. But I'm even more proud to say that he is a friend of mine. There are quite a few people that I follow on social media, and Lucas is one of them. But the transparency and vulnerability of why and how he shares his message is really powerful. I think a lot of people share messages and put things out there to garner attention and to really gather likes and follows. But Lucas is constantly lifting other people up and challenging them with his thoughtful and encouraging words. It is my honor to introduce my good friend, Lucas Mack.
Thanks, Chris. I really appreciate being part of this amazing summit. Hello, everyone. My name is Lucas Mack, and I am the podcast host of The Golden Rule Revolution. I'm an author of the book, Everyone Has a Plan Until They Get Punched in the Face. I'm an entrepreneur, and today I'm coming to you to share a message of coming from a place of love. The word love has been bastardized over the previous years to the place where we don't want to use the word, and if we do use the word, we misuse the word. And it becomes no different if I love ice cream or I love my wife. But I want to talk about the word love in its root origin. In Hebrew, the word is ahava, which means to give. Love always gives the highest good for someone else. If you look at the seasons and the cycles in the universe, the regeneration from night to day, everything grows, everything comes back to a place of regeneration. And that is a universal principle of love. What we see right now in our society is a polarization between humanity, which is unnecessary and strips away our understanding that our greatest ability is to show love and kindness to one another, especially as men. So many men have this macho facade, the tough guy facade, the I'm tougher, stronger than the supposed sound of weakness, the narrative that maybe we're not as strong, maybe we're not as tough, maybe we're not as good. And so men so often try to outrun that voice, but that voice isn't based in love. That voice is based in scarcity, in fear, in lack. So I am on a mission to see people truly reclaim back in their lives the great power that love universally has for all of us. A few things that I want to share with you practically what you can do to start coming from a place of love and allowing love and goodness and inspiration to fill your mind, fill your heart, and eventually fill your body. Number one, fear cannot create love any more than love can create fear. Fear keeps you small. Fear strips away your voice. Fear get you triggered to where you want to fight at all times. And the way I explain this is, if you think about the bulls in Spain where they do the bullfights, or the running of the bulls, these massive, violent, strong animals have rings in their nose. Why? Because it doesn't matter how big and strong and angry and powerful those bulls are. The minute someone puts their finger in that ring of that bull's nose, they can lead that bull wherever they want him to go. They can bring that bull to their knees. And it's the same with us as human beings, and specifically as men, where we build up this tough facade. We build up this, I'm tough, I'm good, I'm strong, I'm smart, I'm wealthy, I'm all these things. But if we are coming from a place of fear and trying to outrun that voice of fear in our heads, the minute someone confronts us with an opposing idea, opposing thought, perhaps a different way of looking, more often than not, we get triggered, we get angry, we want to either go into fight or flight mode. And that is so unnecessary, because love says it's all good. Let's take a look at what someone else says. I won't get triggered. I'm going to stand in the power of my vulnerability and observe every other person's perspective and listen empathetically to them, so that I can learn from them and not feel I am any less than, but I can share love with them. And when they feel loved by you, they in turn can go out and share love with another person. It is the ripple effect. You can call it the butterfly effect, you can call it the ripple effect, but when you choose to stop the pain and fear perpetuating beyond yourself, and you say the pain will stop with me, the fear will stop with me, and from now on I will come from a place of love, you literally change in a small but compounding way how the world is. So what Mahatma Gandhi meant when he said, be the change you want to see in the world. You get to be that. We have a lack of love narrative in this world. And the word love has been hijacked by religion or perhaps the poets of the past. But it's time to reinsert this love back into our narrative, back into our thoughts, back into our conversations, back into our behaviors and actions and ways of being. When I treat you with the highest good, you feel better. And when you feel better, you'll be better. And when you be better, you can then go out in a secure way and treat other people with love and kindness. The other thing is, light and darkness are not counterforce powers to each other. What I mean by this is, darkness is not a counterforce to light. Darkness exists in the absence of light. So Benjamin Franklin has a brilliant quote. He says, instead of cursing the darkness, light a candle. You see, so often our energy is spent trying to drive out darkness by using darkness as the means. We get angry, we curse, we accuse, we gossip, we speak bad of others, and that is darkness being perpetuated. But if you want the behavior of another person to change, it does not start by trying to change the other person's behavior. It starts with you being the light so desperately needed in this world. And light casts out darkness, just as love casts out fear. Do not try to combat darkness with darkness. It will never work. Be the light. Be the change. And the last thing I want to talk to you about today, and I'm so honored to be part of these great leaders in the summit, I want to talk about vulnerability. There's a lot of narrative that's gone on and around vulnerability, but I define vulnerability in a very specific way, and it's this: having the courage to experience love in its purest form. Courage does not mean the absence of fear. Courage means experiencing fear and doing something anyway. stepping through that fear. And on the other side of fear is love. That's why I define courage, or define vulnerability, as having the courage to experience love in its purest form. When you step through fear, when you step through darkness and realize that you are the light and you are the proponent of love and the one who is able to give love into this world, you can then stand in your own vulnerability, take your mask off, and not feel like you're always on the defensive. But instead, you can drop your armor, drop your walls, stand there, and talk about whatever, whenever, to whomever, and not get triggered, but be an invitation for someone else to take their mask and their armor off. When we, as human beings, live like this, which is not a utopian ideal, which is not some fluffy, foo-foo, woo-woo narrative. It's just simply standing in our own power, and our power resides in our vulnerability to show love and light into this world. When we do this, we will see the world that we truly want to live in. And it begins inside us. And from inside us, we can share outside of us what others are craving for themselves. My name is Lucas Mack. I'm so honored to be part of this. Chris, thank you so much for having me, and I'll toss it back to you.
Thank you, Lucas. Very powerful message, and I think the way you delivered it was very special. Lucas initially spoke about the word love, and he used the Hebrew definition to give. And it makes me think about the thought, and very quickly, who are those people that I can give love to? Who needs love today? I think the reality is, not only during these challenging times, but the reality is I think everybody wants to and needs to be loved in their own way. And I think love has a very interesting perception during society. It's not said a lot and it's not shown in different ways. But I think the reality is it's okay to love people in different ways, and I think we need to show it and express it. There are people we love romantically, there are people we love as friends, but I think the reality right now, during these unprecedented times, we need to express it and we need to show it more often. I hope the way that Lucas described it made you think a little bit maybe about how and why you love people, but more importantly, think about those people today, on Saturday, that need your love. As long as I've known Lucas, he's been one of the most transparent people. He's extremely vulnerable, and he often talks about the word vulnerability. And I think in society, vulnerability has this thing where people think it means weakness. And if you're vulnerable, it means that you're weak. And I think that's completely the opposite. I think vulnerability is strength. I think when you are vulnerable to yourself, to others, and I think in some ways you're showing who you are, but also expressing the need and desire to be open. And I think during these challenging times, it's okay to be vulnerable. I think it's important to be vulnerable not only to our family, to our friends, but also to people within our community. Lucas defined vulnerability as having the courage to experience love in its purest form. So right now, I challenge you to do just that. Have the courage to express love today. Show love to people that need it in your life, in your corner, in your community. So when you get off today's webinar, go out and express love to somebody. Send it to them. Maybe it's a text message. Maybe it's a phone call. But go ahead and let the people know in your corner, in your life, that you love them and you care for them. I've had the privilege of knowing our next guest for over 20 years. We initially met on the sidelines on a basketball court at the University of North Carolina. And over the last 20 years, I've gotten to know him, his wife, his kids, as well as his parents. We've traveled from North Carolina to New York to Connecticut, and most recently out to Kansas. As a college basketball coach at one of the top programs in the country, his schedule is hectic and he's always going 24 hours a day. But he still always finds time and makes time to positively impact both my life as well as others. I'm extremely proud of him, how he leads and guides young men, not only on the basketball court, but off the court. In an incredibly competitive field, he does it with such grace and passion, but you can truly tell that he cares. And his positivity, you can see it from a mile away. It is my pleasure and privilege to introduce my very good friend, Fred Kortelbaum.
Hey, Chris. Hey, thanks so much for that wonderful introduction. You know, it's been amazing 20 years of watching you evolve and grow into one of the most dynamic coaches on positivity and leadership As you know, you've been very influential to me personally and professionally. So I'm extremely humbled and honored to be a part of the We Rise by Lifting Others Up forum today. You know, during this pandemic, there were two questions that I had to truly ask myself. How am I going to continue the journey of positivity, not only for myself, but for others? And secondly, what are the keys or the strategies that I needed to help me move forward? I always have to begin with the belief that building your brand of character is the most important asset to truly cement your handprint on your life, your family, your team, community, or any organization that you associate yourself with. The focus for me is always based off of 3 pillars: love, care, and serve. They've had such an impact on my life, and I challenge myself to even love more, to care more, and to serve more. And there's no better opportunity to turn it up a notch than now, because I strongly feel this is the most successful, simplistic, and positive model that anyone can follow. Because when you focus to love more, to care more, and to serve more, I just think it brings a deeper level of value to everyone and everything you touch. I wake up every morning excited because I have an opportunity to add value not only to myself, but to others. And I use the term Q's direct deposits. And those deposits every day go to my family, my team, my community, and myself. And I also think it's important that you have a purpose for your day. Daily expectations, whether it be to show up, to learn and grow, whether it be to ownership, experiences, because there's no better time to try something new. To me, the mind needs to be stretched beyond its comfort zone to stay fit. So not a better time to get out of your box today. Go ahead and join, share, participate. Because in order to fully maximize your growth, it's important to keep your energy level on full. Self-care is the best activity that I think you can do for yourself and your family. So flood your mind, your body, and your spirit with positivity. That can come from books, music, exercises, podcasts, leadership groups, and healthy food choices. All doses of positive fuel and energy. So I sincerely hope you were able to take a few things to add to your journey of positive growth and development. And I would encourage everyone to take the pledge to love more, to care more, and to serve more every day. Chris, thanks again for allowing me to share just a few words and also to be a part of the We Rise by Lifting Others Up forum today. Thank you very much.
Q, thanks for that powerful message. And it's something I think we really needed to hear this morning. Love, care, and serve. 3 very simple words, but they have a very powerful meaning. Q shared how he wakes up every morning excited to attack the day, but also excited to add value not only to himself, but to others. And his others are his family, his team, his community, and himself. So who are your others? Who are those people that you can add value to today? Who are those people that need you to add value to them today? I've heard this and I've shared it quite a few times over the past couple of weeks. The reality that not one person can absolutely impact every single person, but every single person can impact at least one person. And think about that for a second. Think about if every single day we all went out to positively impact one person. Think about the compound impact that would have not only in your community, in your town, but your state. And it's something that we can do. We can all positively impact and add value to one person every day. And I think the reality is Q also shared that how it's important and why it's important to have a purpose for your day, to start your day with a purpose, and make sure you feed your mind, body, and soul with positive fuel and energy. One thing we often discuss on our podcast is the importance of a morning routine. And I think so many people have shared some amazing routines that they have, but the reality is how you start and lean into your day often depicts whether or not you're going to win your day. And Q challenged us to love more, to serve more, and to care more. A simple yet really powerful takeaway for us today. So let's all take that to heart. And when we get off this webinar this morning, let's really think about the ways in which we can love more, serve more, and care more. Not only in our family, not only in our home, but also in our community as well. Because we are going through these challenging times, everybody needs to be loved more, served more, and we can all show care to more people each and every day. Our next speaker also happens to be one of my accountability partners. The very first time I spoke to Tim on the phone, I knew that he was somebody that I wanted to have in my corner. He has challenged me, supported me, and he's provided guidance to me. And I love the way in which he shares his message and how and why he is building his brand. I think you will really enjoy his story today. And I would like to introduce to you Tim Douglas.
Hey Chris, thank you so much for the invite. It's really an honor to be a part of the Rise by Lifting Others Up Forum. And when I think of we rise by lifting others up, I think of times when maybe I've seen someone who needed a lifting, needed a hand. I could tell that emotionally or maybe physically they were going through a challenge, and I didn't know what to do, and so I did nothing. And I think a lot of times that's how we are, as human beings. Sometimes we don't know what to do, so we don't do anything. I wonder if how many of us listening today, or you listening today, have you experienced that? But there's so much power in lending a hand. And I think of a time when I was in a situation where inside I was screaming out for help. I was screaming out for someone to recognize the hurt that I was going through, recognize the situation that I was in. And honestly, I felt like those around me knew what was going on. I felt like they could tell that I was in need. They could tell that I was hurting. Yet I did not get the hand that I needed. And many times we could do that. We can see others who need a hand. And we might just pray that, the Lord send them somebody that can minister to them, send somebody that could help them, and yet we're the ones that can help. And but I want to transition just slightly because I think I have a story that's really strong on my heart. Really, it's many lessons that we can learn from this story. However, I want to pinpoint one specific thing for this We Rise by Lifting Others Up forum. And many of you who might follow me might know, my Instagram, Tim Douglas Inspires, you'll see that I post many things about storms and facing storms and being the buffalo. And I want to share that story with you today, and how that story, what we can learn from that story by lifting others up. For those who aren't familiar with the story, I'll give you a really brief explanation of that story. And what happens is, and this is true story, so this is not fictional. These are lessons that really play out, that we can take from what we can see in the Midwest, or actually anywhere, but really plays out really well in the Midwest. We'll say Colorado area is best because there's plains on the east and Rockies on the west. What happens is a storm will start to brew. A storm will start to develop over the top of the Rockies. The cow can actually sense a storm brewing, can actually sense when a storm's coming. They look over, they see it, they start heading east. And as they're heading east, they're trying to run away from the storm. They're avoiding the storm, right? Run as fast as you can away from the storm. But as you know, cows are not very fast. They're short, stubby legs, they're big, fat bellies, and so they don't run very fast. So what happens is the storm catches them. As they're trying to head east, the storm catches them going east, and now they're running with the storm that they're trying to avoid. The lesson there is, it increases the amount of stress, time, frustration, and the amount of pain that they have to deal with that storm. I've seen myself do that so many times, trying to avoid storms. I think we all do that. Can you see yourself, in the storms that you've tried to avoid? Can you see the amount of stress, time, frustration, and maybe even pain that you've had to deal with that storm? I think we all see that in our lives. However, the other character in the story is a buffalo. The buffalo sees the exact same storm, and the buffalo turns and heads towards the storm. So they're heading directly into the storm. The storm passes over the top of them, decreasing the amount of time, stress, frustration, the amount of pain that they have to deal with the exact same storm. And in this time right now of this, global pandemic, we are all going through the exact same storm, yet we all face it differently. We all face things in our lives differently. And so one of the things that I really wanted to highlight out of this in facing the storm is finding a community. We rise by lifting others up when we're in a community. And I think about this time of social isolation or social distancing. And the key there is to not isolate ourselves in a time of a crisis. When you're going through a storm, when you're going through a crisis in life, that is not the time to isolate yourself. You know, you get picked off by being isolated. And as I think of isolation, you know, I think of those that really see us going through a storm, going through a challenge in life. How blessed are we, or how awesome is it that we have others to go through life with? We have others to go through that storm with. And so I want to challenge us really to find our community, to not get isolated, to not get picked off. And I think about a story in the Bible. I'm a faith guy. And so the story in the Bible where it talks about where Jesus would leave the 99 to go after the one. And I think about that in our lives. If we're going to lift each other up, we're going to see those who are out there isolated, who are struggling in a storm. In a herd of buffalo, you never see one buffalo heading into the storm alone. He heads into the storm with his community, with his herd. And in that community, in that herd, I think I can just imagine as they're running, right, with full force, with full energy, with command, taking charge of that storm, facing that storm, saying, "You are not going to get me." I can just imagine that there's times when one of them might stumble. One of them might fall. And in that time, they don't allow them to stay there, right? The herd, the energy of the herd picks them up and carries them through. Not physically, right? But metaphorically. And I think that's us in a community. We don't get isolated in a community, right? And we don't get left behind. And I think that's the key here in this story for me. One of the things that I wanted to pull out is, one, we don't do it alone. We go at it with a community. And in the community, there's others that are willing to go after us. There's others that are willing to lift us up. And by lifting each other up in the midst of a storm, in the midst of a crisis, whatever it may be in your life, in the midst of that storm, we rise by lifting others up. And I love that, Chris. I really appreciate you putting this forum together. There's so many great speakers on this forum, so I'm just honored to be a part of it. And I hope that this really ministers to someone, really helps you if you're going through a storm, not to isolate yourself. Find your community, and we will rise by lifting others up. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, Tim. Absolutely love that story. And the difference between a buffalo and how a cow faces a storm, it's the exact same choice that we have today. We can either be the buffalo or we can be the cow, together versus alone. We are definitely going through the midst of our own storm right now. And the coronavirus and this pandemic is a storm we are all facing right now. And as Tim shared, it's important not to isolate ourselves. Now, it doesn't mean we don't follow the rules with social distancing, but that means that we have to be more creative in the ways in which we stay connected to our friends, our family, our community, and our loved ones. And during this storm, the fact is that many people are really struggling. Think about the people in your community that might be struggling, the people that you know struggling, because individuals and families definitely have stumbled and fallen financially, emotionally, and many businesses locally have been forced to close. So is there someone you might and should extend a helping hand to? What about local businesses? Maybe you order from a local restaurant, a smaller restaurant, as opposed to a large chain. Maybe just listening to somebody, picking up the phone and letting them know that they're not alone. Maybe they physically might be apart from you, but they're not alone. Let them know that you are there for them and that you care. And the reality is that we're not going to get through this unless we do it together as a community. And as Tim shared in his parting words, let's all continue to lift each other up as we go through these very challenging times. Our next speaker is also one of my accountability partners, and he happens to be a member of the John Maxwell team. When we first met last year, we immediately connected. Jeff is one of the most sincere people I know, and he epitomizes the word encourage. He has encouraged me as well as our No Quit Living message, but I've seen him encourage so many other people as well. Many people only talk about adding value. It's something that's important to say and people spread it out there. But Jeff is one of those people that genuinely, really and truly tries to add value to each and every one of us. As an avid reader, Jeff sent me a book last year with a note, and I wanted to share the note with you today. Christopher, thank you for the positive, uplifting words and spirit you share daily. In this world of negativity and tearing others down, you are leading a charge of positivity and caring. I'm inspired daily. Please enjoy this book. It made an impact on me, and I hope it does for you as well. Enjoy and crush it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce my very good friend, Jeff Forrester.
Wow, Chris, thank you for that very kind and generous introduction. I first want to say thank you to you for putting together the We Rise by Lifting Others Up forum. It's such a great opportunity to A, be a part of, and B, to learn from. I also want to say thank you to the other panelists that are here sharing their insights of positivity to each one of you and me as well, because I know that I'm going to gain so much from it. I want to take a moment and talk to you guys about adding value. And I want to talk about 3 different segments of where you can add value. And the first is yourself. It's so important to take, let's say, 30 minutes a day to add value to yourself. It doesn't have to be complicated. You can break it up in 5-minute increments, 10-minute increments, whatever you want to do, but it's sitting down with your calendar at the beginning of the day or setting an alarm in your phone to just find 30 minutes, however you want to do it, throughout the day. It's such a great and important aspect to how you can help others is you've got to help yourself. So sit down in a chair and breathe, take a cat nap, watch something funny on YouTube, watch something from a self-development perspective, listen to a podcast, read a book, but be intentional about adding value to yourself. And I know that when you do that, you're going to feel better, you're going to have your power, and you're going to be able to help other people. The second segment is adding value to your family. And again, let's just think about 30 minutes. If within 30 minutes, you could do almost anything with your family. And let's say that they're in the house with you. So you can get a game of Yahtzee, a game of Uno, you can watch a funny video, there's so many different things that you can do, but be intentional about finding time to add value to others. If you don't have anybody around you, you've got this marvelous thing called a phone that you can pick up. You have a letter that you can write. There's so many things that you can do to surprise people. Have a good conversation that's uplifting, that's not focused on COVID-19 and all the different details and statistics that are out there. Ask them how their day is. Give them some highlights to your day to help bring a brightness that they may not currently have. The last segment that I want to talk to you about is adding value to others. This is so important, and it's one of those things that, again, it doesn't have to be grand, it doesn't have to be complicated. It could be on your evening walk, your morning run, whatever it may be, is just being intentional about saying good morning and hello, looking people in the eye 6 feet away, but making sure that you tell them good morning. When you go to the store to buy groceries and you go to pick up your takeout, say thank you. Tell them how much that you appreciate them being there. Finding somebody in the neighborhood who might have some challenges getting out to the store and buying groceries. Just little things like that can present such a great opportunity to pour into other people. So I know that the more that you give, the more we receive. And it's one of those things that will, once you can start to perpetuate positivity, we rise by lifting others up. If you think of other people and you really think about how you could help them, I know that you're going to have a great day. So let me share a Bible verse that's super important to me, and it's Philippians 2:3-4. Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to his own interest, but also to the interest of others. So with that, thank you. I hope this message today added value to your life with those 3 simple steps of thinking of 30 minutes a day. And I want to say, Again, thank you to the panelists. Thank you to Chris for this wonderful opportunity. So with that, I'm going to throw it back to Chris. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, Jeff, for sharing that message. And I think it's something that's been touched on a little bit here today is the importance of adding value to others. I think it's something that we all can do. And Jeff shared 3 ways that he recommends we can add value. 1, to ourselves. Number 2, to your family. And number 3, to others. It's important to be intentional about adding value. But here's the thing. It doesn't cost money, nor does it take an inordinate amount of time. What it is, and it should be, is genuine and sincere. As Jeff shared, saying hello to somebody, looking people in the eyes. It's those things that don't make a huge difference maybe to you, but to that person, maybe it has a hugely positive impact on their day or their evening. So the question for you to think about is, who are those people in your life, in your circle, in your community that you can add value to? Find little ways, as Jeff shared, on a daily basis to add value. And the main thing is add value to others with 0 expectations in return. I had an opportunity to speak in person with our next guest in February this year, and it was both a privilege and an honor. He was a guest on my podcast last year, and his episode is still one of the top downloaded episodes of all time. I've watched Damon motivate, inspire, and captivate people all over this country with his incredible story. I know for a fact that I couldn't do justice to it, and it's an honor and a privilege for me to be able to introduce our next speaker and my friend, Damon West.
Hey, Chris, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate the intro, brother. Man, it's great to be here on your We Rise by lifting each other up forum. We've known each other for over a year now, and we talk about lifting each other up. That's our purpose in life, is to find ways to give back and put back in the stream of life, and you do it so well, man. I watch your stuff on social media all the time, and you're always out there, even with your little notes. You know, positivity is something we can't get enough of, especially right now. Right now, people are all, they're talking about like they feel like they're doing time. And when I hear this, Chris, I think about, well, I've done time. I spent 7 years and 3 months in a maximum security penitentiary for the crimes I committed. I go all around the country and I go into prisons all over the country, when I'm speaking in different states. And I even became a criminal justice professor. I went back to school and got my master's, and I teach a class at University of Houston downtown called Prisons in America. I mean, in what world is that happening, right? I was in a prison in America 4.5 years ago. So I can tell you with authority about doing time. And I can tell you with authority that the toughest prison in America to do time, the hardest prison I've ever seen and ever been in, is the prison of your mind, right? I meet more people out here in the free world that are locked up than I ever did when I was in prison, y'all. More people are in prison by their thoughts and by their things than by steel bars and barbed wire and concrete. But if we're talking about doing time, we feel like some of this stuff we're going through right now with the coronavirus is like doing time. Let me tell you that the first rule about doing time is you have to do your time. You can't let your time do you. And that means you need to decide what you pack into each day of your life. Because if you don't make a decision what's going to go into your day, then your day is going to make that decision for you, and you don't want that, y'all. That's when we get down the rabbit hole of spending too much time on social media, watching too much news, watching too much television, and giving into fear. My buddy John Gordon says it best when he says that fear and faith both have more in common than just beginning with the letter F. They both believe in a future that has not happened yet. Fear is a negative one, and faith is a positive one. So we want to fill our days up with good things that can motivate us to grow and be better people. And growth takes place, by the way, outside of your comfort zone. So what do I do for my daily routine? That's a question I get asked all the time. I've done time. I pretty much have the same routine I had when I was locked up, only it's different levels and different ways of committing to it now. I start off each day with a statement that says, thank you for this opportunity. This opportunity to become the best version of myself that I could be. And I started doing that when I was in prison. My first cellmate, this guy named Carlos, this little bank robber from San Antonio, told me, man, you have to quit looking at prison as a punishment and start looking at prison as an opportunity. An opportunity to work on yourself 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so I did. I bought into that. And what I discovered is that there is opportunity inside of every crisis, inside of every bad situation. There's opportunity to be had. Find your opportunity each day, but make your opportunities, right? So I'll start with that statement. Thank you for this opportunity. Then I do prayer and meditation. And prayer, I always say, is when you talk to whatever God you believe in. And meditation is when you listen to God, right? So I ask God every day, God, put in front of me what you need me to do today for you, and let me recognize it when I see it, because I don't want to miss that. And then I start my day. I start my routine. I get up, I get dressed, I get ready. Now today I don't have to travel anywhere to speak, and there's no presentations to give, but I come right over here in my dining room and I get to work. And I'm on Zoom calls all day, but I want to find ways to put back in the stream of life. Look, just because I'm not out going out earning a paycheck, speaking in places, doesn't mean I don't have something to offer. I'm spreading this message of positivity everywhere I can go. I have a gratitude journal. I do it early in the mornings. I write down 3 things I'm grateful for. Have my morning coffee, have my morning routine. I get up at the same time each morning that I was getting up before this coronavirus pandemic happened, because guess what? I'm not on vacation. And I find ways to put back in the stream of life, because the secret to happiness in life is called servant leadership. And servant leadership is helping other people achieve their goals in life, helping to raise other people up to a different station of life. Because when we're helping other people, that's when we're at our best. That's when we really actually help ourselves. So I find ways to be a servant leader, and I tap into the world spiritually by giving back to others. Mentally, I want to have a workout too. So I have a spiritual workout, I have a mental workout. My mental workout means, what kind of books am I reading? What kind of videos do I watch? What kind of websites do I go to? What am I feeding myself mentally? Because you are what you eat. It's not just about food. It's about everything you put in up here too. You have to look at your mind like you would your body. You want to take care of yourself physically, and we're going to talk about the physical workout in a second. Then you got to put the right fuel in. Feed yourself the right stuff mentally, people. Give yourself a chance. Check out the best podcasts. Follow the better people. I mean, you want to know some people to follow. John Gordon's a great person. Inky Johnson, my buddy Ink, is a great person to follow. Follow me if you want. I'm always putting positivity out there, but you want to find good people and positive people to follow out there on social media and emulate that. You want to put positivity out there too. So spiritually and mentally, we've had our workout already today. Physically, what this means is that diet you've been wanting to do for a long time, or that workout plan you want to get back on, but you just didn't have time. Guess what? Now you have the time. Now you not only have the time, but your diet, you're in your kitchen now. You're not relying upon fast food. You're not relying upon vending machines. If you're a school teacher or a coach, you're not relying upon cafeteria food anymore. Now you get to control your meals. You get to control your intake, because you're here at your house, right? So make the most of that. Take this as an opportunity to start that diet you've always wanted to do, and do it. And your opportunity to work out. That workout plan you wanted to do, but you didn't have time. Now you got time. Now you've got the time, so take the opportunity to start working out. And it may start out with just walking around a little bit. Get into some exercise routine, but do it every day. Consistency is the key to starting these patterns off, starting these behaviors off. Consistency is the key to doing time. And get enough rest. Take care of yourself. Go to bed at a good hour. You're not running from pillar to post anymore. Take this opportunity to get enough rest. Take care of your body. So you only get one of those. I want to conclude this right now by telling you that, aside from my morning routine, I have a call to action that I live by, and it's a call to action I want to give you right now. When I was in Dallas County Jail, this older inmate told me about the coffee bean. And the coffee bean story says, in a pot of boiling water, you put 3 things in there: a carrot, an egg, and a coffee bean. And he said the carrot turns soft. He's telling me about prison, right? He's using prison as a pot of boiling water. And he said the carrot goes into prison and becomes soft. He said the egg goes into prison, that pot of boiling water, and becomes hard. It becomes mad, angry, and mean. He said, but the coffee bean, the smallest of these 3 things, he said, small like you, West, had the power to change the entire atmosphere inside that pot. Every one of us has the power to change this pot of boiling water we're in right now into a pot of coffee, because the power to change anything is inside you. Any situation you're in, any kind of environment you're in, anything you want to do, the power is inside you. It's not on the outside. The outside influences only matter so much. But remember what I told you a while ago, that the hardest prison I've ever seen is the prison of your mind. More people are locked up by their thoughts and by their things than by steel bars. So don't become a prisoner of this world. Things may change for you in life. Some people may listen to this, may lose their jobs. You may lose your homes. You may lose your car. You may have to downsize on a lot of these things. But you control how you respond to these situations, because the most important things in your life aren't your job or your home or your car. The most important things in life are things like your relationships you have, your faith, your ability to serve other people. There's no economic downturn, no coronavirus. There's not even a prison sentence that can take your ability away on those three things, especially your ability to serve. So do that. So my call to action to each one of you is go out there and you go be a coffee bean too. Go out there and go be a coffee bean today. Find a way to put back in the stream of life. Find a way to impact the world around you, because I know you can do it. The power is inside of you. Hey, Chris, I'm going to kick this back to you, man. But again, I just want to tell you thanks, man. Thanks for letting me speak your forum today. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to do so. And if there's anything I can do for you to help with your mission of spreading positivity, brother, you know where I am. You got my cell phone. Call me anytime you want. But Chris, thanks a lot, man. See y'all later. Thanks. Have a great day, and go be a coffee bean.
Thank you, Damon. I've heard that story many times, but it really hits me every single time. And the thing that stood out really today is 7 years and 3 months in prison. Think about that for a second. So many people are complaining right now about having to be in our homes and having to be following these rules and guidelines with social distancing. But that's not serving time. Damon served time in prison for 7 years and 3 months. Damon shared that the hardest prison is the prison of your mind. And it's very powerful, because that's the one thing that we can control. Since leaving prison, Damon has earned his master's degree. He's now a college professor, a keynote speaker, and a best-selling author. Damon shared something that was really important, is filling our mind with things that motivate us and inspire us. And he spoke about something that's really important, is social media. Who you follow on social media is very important. The things you like, the things you comment, the things you share. There are algorithms based into social media that put those things in front of you. So if you're sharing and spreading negativity, and if you're attacking things and complaining, it's going to continually go out there, and that's what you're going to continue to see. The algorithms are based and they're made so you can continue to see the things that you quote unquote like. So think about this. Change lanes on what you're doing on social media. Don't follow and spread negativity. Don't follow and spread rumors. Instead, uplift people, inspire them. Damon shared his call to action about the coffee bean, the carrot, and the egg. So the question for you is, which one do you want to be? Which one do you want to be? We all have the opportunity to change, and we all have the opportunity to positively impact other people. I know I said it before, but think about this again. 7 years and 3 months. That's what Damon served in prison. But now he's out here, and he's making a positive impact on so many people's lives, and he's had a hugely positive impact on my life. So I challenge you to think about the ways you can change, but more importantly, the ways you can spread positivity. So as we wrap up today's forum, I want to say one very specific thing. We will get through this together. On the next slide, we're going to share contact information for each speaker today. And I also want to thank Tom and Sarut for really doing what they do behind the scenes. SS Media Company and Talix Media, I think that they are the best in what they do. So if you need anything audio, video, or social media related, please reach out to them. And a thank you to you. A very special thank you to everybody that tuned in today, and for those people that are going to watch later. I hope every single speaker shared one thing that connected with each person. I hope that you found this informative, motivational, and inspiring. And I hope you see how and why it is so important to stay positive during these challenging times, to surround yourself with those positive people, to surround yourself, the people who are in your corner, on your bus, and in your tribe. And I have to say a very, very special thank you to the speakers that joined me here today. Chris, Joe, Matt, Lucas, Fred, or Q, Tim, Jeff, and Damon. Jim Rohn has a very famous quote where he says, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend most of your time with. You are some of my 5 people." And nobody knows exactly how long these challenging times are going to last and how quickly it'll take us to get back to normal. Perhaps it might be a week, a month, or possibly longer. But I said in the beginning, it is so important to control the controllables. Control the things that we can control. We can't control the weather or what people do or what people even say. But we can control what we do. We can control what we say and who we follow, who we listen, and who we spend our time with. So let's all encourage each other today. Let's encourage others today. Let's add value. Let's add value to other people. Let's spread hope, share love, and inspire each and every one of you. And let's spread positivity by muting negativity. So as you log off today's webinar, I challenge you to 2 things. 1, be positive, spread positivity, but 2, take action. One of the things you heard today. Take action today, this afternoon, and tomorrow. reach out to somebody, encourage somebody, and remember that we rise by lifting others up.